Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get spotted. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Well, some interesting actions since we last met yesterday. By the way, Octavius and Uzi, how do you get here so quickly? Because I didn't forgot to like make the stream before I went and ate. But you guys are still here right as I started. I appreciate it so much. All right, guys, this is coming to the charts. So yesterday we had a little bit of upside at the beginning of this session, and they were very quickly cut back down. And then in the overnight session, they kind of continued to drop. The open has been relatively quiet, but that's where we're at in the treasuries. S&P 500. You've got, like they didn't get as high yesterday and they're kind of on the downside again. So it just continues to be a little bit choppy and difficult over in the S&P 500. Oil had a little bit of a jump yesterday, but they have given most of that back this morning. Gold and silver continue to run like monster, and silver in particular is actually like doing really well now, whereas it was really underperforming gold before. Copper continues to struggle, so we're still like that China recovery kind of feels like a little short-lived. And the Japanese yen just getting savaged. Wow. That's pretty strong down move for the Japanese yen there. And the Bitcoin, well, Bitcoin giving up some of their gains and kind of pushing back down into the range that they were in before all of this kind of insanity up. So let's see here. Well, let's go into what Will's saying here first. Continued weakness in long end rates. Well, so coming back over here, let's look at the volume profile here. And what is the spread doing? Well, the 2 and 10-year spread, at least, is not really moved that much since the non-farms. So we've definitely seen stuff intraday that kind of suggests something's going on in the yield curve, right? But we haven't had like larger picture move. I'm wondering if we will soon see some big bond buyers on Thursday or Friday, perhaps? Well, so for starters, Wednesdays tend to be relatively active days. And if somebody is really making like a play, it's very frequent that they do it on a Wednesday. Well, let's just come back over here before I get too deep into that. I'm going to make sure. Okay, so we do have a Bank of Canada rate statement today. So that kind of, if it was like a no news Wednesday, maybe that would apply. But I guess it doesn't actually apply here. And we also have some Fed speakers at the top of the hour. Okay, so there we got some stuff going on. Trump likely to get a spike in the polls due to a scheduled interview with Joe Rogan, and that will drag on the line again? Maybe. I do wonder. Well, I mean, let's not say I do wonder, because we're all wondering. But it seems even more so that this movement is perhaps solely due to the perception that Donald Trump will win the election. I mean, I've been predicting from basically Labor Day that Donald Trump would win. The market seems to really be like all in on that he's going to win now, which is kind of interesting. Like, I really think that it's going to be closer than what the market is predicting, at least. Like, he does have an advantage. He is likely to win. But it's not as sure of a thing as the markets are making it. Market's all in on it. He's going to lose. Well, but you're still in on the, they're going to steal it. So like, here's the thing. Like, we could do this. And insto, I don't know what that was supposed to be, but research starting to suggest inflation is likely to return. Well, that was definitely a narrative that I started to see yesterday. Was a lot of people saying, well, I see inflation returning. I kind of, like, here's the thing, and I think that they're actually probably right. I don't know if inflation returns in such a way that it's like super devastating like it was before, per se. But, you know, like, could we see inflation run at 3% instead of 2%? I think so. And the reason why I think so is because I'm starting to realize that there is a lot, and I mean a lot of people in this job market that have not had the opportunity to raise their wages relative to the change in inflation. And right now, it's extremely difficult to shift between roles and so forth. The labor market is extremely tight, particularly in those tech roles. And so if interest rates come down and things kind of ease, then you'll see people switch those jobs, and that will see pressure on inflation. So in the scenario that I'm seeing, what I think would happen is you would see hourly earnings be a little bit hot. Paul Tudor Jones said he made the adjustment to his portfolio and dumped treasuries, and so U.S. needs, I repeat, to see rates below inflation in order to let it inflate away the government debt. Yeah. Huh. Well, I do think that probably what we're looking at is probably more of like a second, third quarter 2025 thing, though. Odd Street, Love, Pennsylvania. 52,000 registered voters at one address. Yeah, but they found it. So here's the thing, though. Here's what I was going to say. So again, we talk about is Donald Trump beyond the margin of stealing, beyond the margin of the steal? Well, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin are the three kind of places where you're concerned about that. The big story that's going on right now is in Wisconsin. There are more registered voters than there are eligible voters. That is to say that there's all of these, there's about 500,000 voters that, like, they've moved or died or whatever, and they're still on the rolls. But there's basically more voter registrations than there are voters in the state. And there's a big court case going on about that, right? I think it was also Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Georgia that all said that they have mail-in votes that are like mail-in votes from across seas that can come in, and so they won't have their results until at least 3 days after the election, right? So those are the places where there's kind of like concern that they would steal the election, right? Well, here's the problem with all that. Well, first of all, let's not count Georgia in that. Let's put Georgia in the Donald Trump column. I also think North Carolina should be in the Trump column. I also think at this point it looks like that Nevada is in the Trump column. Okay. and Arizona. Okay. So one of the things that that is interesting that's going on is that in New Mexico, it shows Donald Trump within the margin of error, or actually maybe slightly ahead. Actually, let's come back over here and verify that extra for you guys here. Now let's just search for whole New Mexico. Oh, okay. So it was, I think I was thinking of this one, where he was within the margin of error. Okay. So probably we can't put that in there. Light blue is probably correct. Okay. But if you just look at the way that things are... Oh, actually, maybe Maine? Can we pick up... So I never really quite look at these ones, but I do think that Trump can pick up Maine. Do I have... Maybe this one? Okay. So this is suggesting pretty strongly Trump +7 in the Maine 2nd district, which I'm pretty sure is it this one? No, Maine. Oh, I don't know why they have a, but the 2nd district should be red like that. Okay. That put him over. Nope, 268. I guess maybe you do still need Pennsylvania. But so the scenario that people were talking about the other day was that if Donald Trump took New Mexico, like, then it'd definitely be over, right? Then it's definitely over. Pretty confident about that one. I believe those ones is kind of slightly less red. I actually think that what's going to happen is Trump is going to take Pennsylvania and Biden will get Wisconsin. And Michigan, I'm not so sure about. Let me come back over here. Michigan. Well, it has Trump up in Michigan, but that one's probably too close for me to say. You don't think there's any way that Trump takes Pennsylvania? Well, oops. Let me close that one. I'm losing track of where I am. Go back. Pennsylvania. Trump +3. Yeah, they are, but Republicans have made great strides over there too. Like I think, well, I don't know. So the issue is the polling again. I don't know if any of the polling is really going to be super effective, just because it'll be extremely difficult to predict the electorate. So these polls are either going to be shockingly accurate or shockingly wrong. +3. I don't know. When you come in and you look at it like this, right? If you just go off of the polling, right? If you just go off of the polling, it's saying that he gets all of them. It's saying that it will be this. So Minnesota's not. Is Minnesota considered one? No, it's not. Okay. But which is the one that he looks the strongest in? Okay, Georgia 2.5. That makes sense. Arizona 1.8. And then Nevada spot 9. Michigan 1.2. Oh, he's actually, well, that's kind of an average of polls, right? It actually looks like he's up a little bit more in Pennsylvania than he is in Michigan. Kind of curious, this New York Times poll seems so different from the other ones. You would think that 2016 would have topped people. Well, check the 30-year and 10-year yield chart. Well, I was having problems charting the yield for some reason. Wasn't it 4.17 was the kind of the area that we were looking at before? Okay, so I'm getting a little bit distracted. I had a point here. There's 2 points. One is that the polling is very clear that Donald Trump is in the lead right now. And pretty much everything is going his way. And it does appear to me that he has enough margin that even if they're trying to cheat, I mean, they would have to like really cheat blatantly hard in a way that I think that people would catch this time around to overcome the deficit that Harris has. And I think that just the general idea that, well, in these states, they have enough control over the steel that there's no way that he can win in those places is just too simple of an approach to it. I stand with the French fry king. Good grief, dude. I really think that the McDonald's will be remembered as the greatest publicity stunt of all time. We don't realize it yet, but like, if he wins the election, it will be viewed as the greatest publicity stunt of all time. Anyways, so if Donald Trump wins, market is seeing that. Market is definitely seeing that. Like, there was this thing that was like non-farms, and then like this seems to be like Donald Trump's going to win. But the thing that I find curious is this little, what we saw yesterday. There's this kind of little blip higher. There was like, maybe there's a mean reversion trade going on here. You know, we're still at pretty key levels on the moving average and all of that sort of stuff. And they just got cut down. And the way that it came back down seemed a little odd to me. The volume on it all was a little bit interesting. There was pretty decent absorption both directions, but when it did move down, it moved down very quickly. That kind of has hints in there to me that suggests that somebody has a big position on short and they are managing their position, monitoring it, and keeping it in that direction. So that has me like really cautious about taking any kind of long in the treasury. It seems to me that somebody's got a lock on it and that they're gonna ensure that the bulls can't make too much progress and really get something too strong started. Going back to the election thing. Can you tell you something that really irks me right now? I don't know if they're doing it on purpose or if they don't know or whatever the deal is. And Uzi kind of did it there. I'm sure that he knows and he didn't intend it to play like this or anything. But like everybody just pretends that like, oh, they're going to delay those results by 4 days, like that it takes them so long to count the votes or something like that. And that gives them all this time to cheat and everything. But the reason that they're saying that they are delaying their results by 4 days is because they have something like 25% of the vote to come in by mail, and in some cases overseas, and they have to, and as long as it's postmark on election day, it's okay. And so they have to wait for that mail to come in, and that's why it could take up to 4 days. Okay. There's a good chance that, you know, if Donald Trump, well, not a good chance. It's probably actually very unlikely in this scenario. But if Donald Trump's, you know, like they count the votes on election day and he has a large enough lead, they can kind of project that the mail-in votes are going to come in differently, you know, how different those mail-in votes are going to be, and project and see that it's not going to be enough to beat him, and or vice versa, right? Probably in Pennsylvania, it's too close. In Georgia, well, the polling right now suggests that it's too close. But if Georgia did really kind of turn Donald Trump's way, it would be a different thing. Florida is a more populous state and probably more voters. Yeah, there's probably more voters like that. But we finished on election night. Well, yes, because the margin that you have for Trump is so strong that they can project that the mail-in votes aren't going to make a difference. Right? It's just like on election night, it's very frequent that they will project a winner even though there's only like 50-60% of the vote in, right? Like as soon as the polls close in Utah, they will project that Donald Trump's going to win there, right? Just because they'll know from the votes that had been counted already up until the point when the polls close, were already so much in Donald Trump's favor that he's going to win. Everyone will be for Harris? Well, I dropped off my ballot yesterday and the line of in-person voting was insane. All of the reporting that I've been getting has been that the early vote numbers for Donald Trump are shocking. Like, I don't think that anybody's necessarily adjusting their model based on the early voting that they're seeing and everything. But Donald Trump supporters are voting early in numbers that were not expected. For sure. You can track Florida's ballot activity here. I mean, if I would expect the majority of the mail-in ballots that come in after election day to be for Harris, but not every one of them, right? But the issue is that when the margin of victory is less than 1%, yeah, I think that all of them would be suspicious. All of them would be suspicious. Now there is this other thing that people have been saying, that like people like non-citizens are requesting ballots and trying to vote and stuff like that. And, you know, that one kind of got dropped. I don't know why. I haven't seen anything more about that. Being suspicious wouldn't matter. I think that well, we'll see how it goes. If we get a situation like last time around, right, where it's like you go to sleep, it seems very, very clear that Donald Trump is going to win, and then over the course of 4 days, it shifts, and Kamala Harris ends up winning. So pretty much the same situation as 2020, right? I think it would go differently, to be honest with you. Like the party is so up about it, all of these things. I think that it would, at the very least, I think that you would have a much more extended legal battle this time around. No, I don't think that the support of the media apparatus matters at all. No, what really killed them in 2020 was that the judges shot all of the court cases down. The one that I still think about, and I'm just like, how the heck is that? Where they said that like Donald Trump didn't have standing to challenge it or something like that. I wish I could remember the details on that, but I was like, what? How can the candidate not have the legal standing to challenge the result like that and allege that there was voter fraud? That's insane. That's insane. But like, I really think that the like a lot of things have changed since 2020. They really have. Whether it has changed enough that in a scenario like that things would go different remains to be seen, but like, so let me approach this from a different direction. Why are you so sure? Right? Like, your entire scenario is premised on something that we really can't prove. That'd be my perfect scenario. Trump wins, Democrats challenge, and they take it from him in court with... That's why I'm so... I mean, I suppose the implication is if you can't prove it, then basically you're saying if they can commit fraud and get away with it, then they'll do it. But the reality is that we can't prove that they've ever been doing fraud, or that they can commit fraud on that level and get away with it. Everybody tells us that if it was, you know, that fraud on that level that would affect the election, that it doesn't happen, and that if it did happen, that we would detect it and do something about it. But like, again, we can't prove it. We can't even prove that there was a fraud last time around, although there is at least one court case still going on. So like, why would you base your entire, like, why would you bet money on that? I don't think they have to come. They will do it naturally from within the counting and balloting systems. Well, but on that point, that's where I'm saying, like, look at the early voting and the voter registrations and all of those other things. The Team Trump has basically played that game and has done a pretty reasonably good job with it. And the especially the voter registrations in Pennsylvania all strongly suggests that Trump has the advantage. I'm thinking about this slight little rise here in the treasury is what I think of it. And my theory that somebody has a clamp on this. So I don't know what to call it. I'm going to call it a clamp. So I guess I should expect them to come up maybe as high as 05 and then see those guys, you know, clamp back down on it again. So maybe I want to see them get up to 05 and take a short. That's an awfully speculative setup for a trade. What are the odds for an upset on day 6 of counting? So here's the thing, BS. From what I am seeing, it will be I think that it will be pretty decisive if Donald Trump wins. Okay. In fact, here's the crazy prediction that I will make. If Donald Trump wins, he will also win the popular vote, or it'll be really, really close. The popular vote will be really, really close. What I'm seeing is in Kamala Harris is a really, really bad candidate that has run a really, really bad campaign, and everything is moving against her at the last second. You know, you realize we're like a week and a half out from this now, right? And, you know, this is the point at which sometimes a little thing will happen. Like when it was Mitt Romney versus Barack Obama, it was that hurricane hit New York. And the Obama administration performed pretty admirably on it, I guess. And so, you know, that kind of gave Obama that late momentum. And then at that point, like, there's no more time left for Mitt Romney to come back. You know, that's something that you would think would have a short-term impact and he would come back down. But since it happened at the right time, right, it was all over. Well, right now, I think that you're seeing things like that happen for Donald Trump. Like, his PR push is just insane. That McDonald's event went very, very well for him. And now he's going to be on Joe Rogan on Friday, which I'm sure they were probably planning on doing that in the last 2 weeks of the election the whole time, but it's just pulling it up. That's probably going to be the most watched podcast / YouTube video of all time for maybe a decade before maybe they go further than that, right? You became an atheist today. Say okay. I'm not going to say congratulations to that. Becoming an atheist is, I mean, even if you think that atheism is correct, I think most atheists would kind of say that it's not something to congratulate people on. Okay. Anyways, BS says I'd watch it. No, it's happening, man. The Joe Rogan Donald Trump podcast, 3 hours this Friday. It's confirmed. It's happening. So it's just all going his way right now. And then you add on top of that both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are kind of relying on low propensity voters to make the difference. Donald Trump, he's getting all of those working class people in swing states that don't always turn up. They're like, politics is boring. I'm not that interested in the election. He's gotten them to care about the politics and to come out. And every time that he's on the ballot, they come out in ways that are unexpected, right? They didn't show up when it was Republicans in 2022. Well, whenever Donald Trump is on the ballot, they come out and Donald Trump outperforms. Kamala Harris is relying on young female voters that are concerned about abortion. So which of those two groups do you think is more likely to come out? The people that have been getting screwed over for 30 years economically and probably are looking at this job market right now and saying like, hey, there's like a real problem here and y'all are kind of ignoring it. I mean, for those people, it's just got to be gnawing at them, right? Or the female voters that they care about abortion, but like abortion's not like it's not a federal issue anymore anyways, right? Oh, and by the way, the candidate that you're voting for is just doing absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. I think that those low propensity voters on the Democrat side are more likely to stay home than the Republicans, or let's say Donald Trump's low propensity voters. And in general, Democrats are easily discouraged. Democrats are easily discouraged. And so if Donald Trump wins, I think that it will be pretty decisive. If Donald Trump wins, it will be a win similar to, well, not similar, but it will be a win in line with the polling that we're seeing right now, where he wins almost every swing state, except for maybe one, maybe not Minnesota, right? But I think he'll win Georgia, Pennsylvania, Arizona. At this point, it looks like even Nevada, right? Like if he wins, it will be that level of a win, okay? So we should probably have a clear idea that is the kind of win that we are getting on election night. Because what will happen is they will look at the polling, right? And they will look at the in-person polling, like, or the exit polls. Sorry. What will happen is they will look at the exit polls. They will say, hey, the demographics and everything of the exit polls actually match our polling really, really well. And then it will be win Donald Trump, right? And if that happens, at that point, anybody out there thinking about doing something fishy is going to be like, no, because he's still going to win, and I'm going to get prosecuted. Donald Trump is going to prosecute very rigorously and aggressively anybody that's trying to commit voter fraud. So if Donald Trump really stands a good chance of winning, they're not going to do that stuff. So I think the scenario where like Donald Trump wins on election night, and then like as the days go by, the vote by mail comes in Pennsylvania and Georgia and turns it into a win for Harris, I think is very unlikely. Okay. That's the scenario where in order for that scenario to play out, it would have to be on election night. The turnout is not what the pollsters expect at all, and it's just way too close to call. And then we're stressing over 1,000 votes. It's a place where like the margin of victory is only a few thousand votes, like it was in 2020. Like that's the thing is that it was incredibly close in 2020. So. Oh yeah. Talking about Harris, did you see the new one where? Yeah. So basically, she was saying something about abortion, I think it was, and there was some Democrat there that screamed out Jesus is Lord, And Kamala Harris said, no, you're at the wrong rally. You should go to the Donald Trump rally down the street or something like that. And then it gets worse. It gets worse. Because then, in order to try and do damage control, she did an event at the church. And people that belonged to that church wanted to ask her questions, and they were essentially kicked out of their own church for wanting to ask Kamala Harris questions. Yeah. So the religious vote, I don't think that Kamala Harris was going to get that anyways, but she really stepped on like a third rail of politics there with that one. Again, it's like, this is just she's a really bad candidate, and they are running a really poor campaign. They really are. Donald Trump is running possibly the best campaign we'll ever see. Like, the 2016, there was something about the 2016 campaign that was really magical. And they went through multiple different iterations of it and everything. They were just kind of doing it, by the seat of their pants, or however you say it. They were just winging it, and it worked out for them. And they probably got a little bit lucky, because it seems to me that Donald Trump did not expect to win. He wasn't prepared to win. And then in 2020, they were better. But this time around, all of the smart people, all of the smart campaign people were in the Donald Trump campaign, and they were in there early, and they have played it just perfect. His campaign has been really, really strong. From just that, how good are they at managing the campaign sort of stuff. I think that just kind of shows you, like, here's a guy that has been building that organization for like 12 years now. And this particular iteration of it for the last 2 years or so. And Kamala Harris kind of had to put something together at the last second, and she was pulling it from Biden's team that was never really that strong to begin with. So that's a big advantage to Donald Trump. Let's see. I guess the big thing here is that in order for at this point, in order for it to be close, or for a scenario where Kamala Harris wins, but we don't find out until like 4 days afterwards and things like that, there has to be either a big shift in the polls over the next 10 days, or the polls have to be dead wrong. Democrats have all of these interesting theories about why the electorate isn't going to be what we think on election day, but I don't think that it's going to come out the way that the Democrats do. She was 2 drops away from tears in her friendly NBC interview. Honestly, you know what? I'm actually honestly kind of tired of talking about, who's going to win. Because I am to the point where I feel, I said after Labor Day. Remember, after Labor Day, the polling was actually looking pretty good for Kamala Harris, and I said she's going to fade. This is probably the best she ever does. She's going to fade. Her campaign is terrible, and it's just gonna, drag on her. And then, it was kind of even better. It kind of worked out even more so this way than I expected, that like she just interviews so terribly that, it got to the point where she has to get herself out in front of voters in order to make a difference. And the more that she does that, the more that people hate her. And, I kind of said that back in Labor Day, but that effect has been even stronger than I anticipated. So what's actually more interesting to me is the aftermath now. What is the aftermath of a Donald Trump win? And there's 2 major things to talk about there. One is, what will Donald Trump do if elected? And 2 is, what will the Democrat Party do? Will this cause a reckoning within the Democrat Party? And personally, I think it should. I don't know if it will, but I think that it should. On number 2, let's talk about number 2 first, because what has happened is the Democrat Party has basically screwed over working class people for like 50 years now. And working class people have finally got fed up with it and kind of smart to what has been going on. And, they just were lucky in finding a candidate that was really focused in supporting their interests in Donald Trump, and that's why they're voting for him. The Democrat Party right now is relying on college-educated voters. Like they're really, really, really pushing hard into those college-educated voters that have, as of late, been voting Democrat. And their kind of plan for things is we'll get more Latino voters and we'll get more college-educated voters, and they'll all vote Democrat, and then we will have this demographic advantage that the Republicans just won't be able to deal with. But here's the problem: is that those demographics are just like working class people were 10, 20 years ago. It's a dead end for the Democrat Party, right? Eventually, the college voters and the Latino voters are going to realize that the Democrat Party has been screwing them over too. It's only a matter of time. If we had a recession, especially, man, if we had a recession and those college-educated workers really got, took it on the nose in that recession, and that does appear to be happening right now to some extent because it is happening in tech, right? And suddenly they're going to realize, the Democrat Party doesn't actually care about me either. They just care about being in office and making money from being in office, and they don't have any intention to do anything in office with that power. So it's only a matter of time before I think that the Democrat Party kind of faces that reckoning. Probably after this election, they may have to face that. The question is, will they face it on that level, or will the reckoning that they face be, we can't have too radical of a candidate, or maybe it will be, what we did with Biden was kind of dumb. It could just be that they say, well, the reason that we lost was because Joe Biden was senile and then we switched candidates and that was a bad idea. And they might just chalk it all up to that and avoid any other kind of larger change in the Democrat Party. That could be. Do they see it as radical? Well, some people I'd say it's about half and half. I think that about half of Democrats do think that what some of these people like AOC and Kamala Harris and so forth are saying is tantamount to communism, practically. And about half of them kind of want the communism, right? But that's where, again, I say, they're playing these people. The Democrat Party has no intention of implementing those policies. They only say them because they know that there's a pretty large portion of the population that loves those things. Even here in America, it's a really tempting thing to tell people, and that's why they do it. And the problem with playing that way is that sooner or later, the voters kind of figure out that you're just playing them, that you're not actually going to do anything. That you're just doing it to get their votes, and you really only want to be in office because that gives you power and influence and makes you money, and not because you're actually going to make the lives of people better. Right? French fries short to evens. Now, the other question, what will Donald Trump do when in office? That one's a little bit more interesting because, or let's not say interesting, let's say difficult to sort out. Because Donald Trump has said a lot of things. He has said a lot of things. Will he actually do them? because a lot of the things that he has said are things that he does not really have the power to do. So the biggest one, as it is relevant to the markets, is Donald Trump promoting a 20% across the board tariff against China. That's not going to happen. The president does not have the power to implement a tariff of that nature. He couldn't come in and try and say that it is a national security concern, but that will be challenged in court, and then it would go through the court process, and I think that the court would probably determine that 20% across the board is not a national security concern, unless you're saying that the state of China itself is a national security concern. And in that case, shouldn't you just be banning all trade with China altogether? Banning trade with China altogether? Well, you're not going to do that. That would destroy the economy. Okay, so I don't think that they have a leg to stand on in a court case like that. He is probably not going to impose a 20% across the board tariff. No, and instead what will happen is he might impose a tariff on this thing or that thing that they can kind of make more of an argument that it's a national security concern. Like, you know, these are things that can potentially have military applications. The funny one is the EV ones, right? They have tariffs on EVs and they say that that's a national security concern. Is a tariff on EVs a national security concern? Or is Chinese EVs a national security concern? Well, maybe. Like, one of the things that I always think funny about the climate change thing is, like, the pollution's all coming from China, right? And, you know, if we were, like, gapping China in nuclear technology, things like that, I think that you would actually see them go towards renewables and these other things, like, faster, you know, if they thought they were going to get left behind. But anyways, I don't see how electric vehicles has the national security concern, but Donald Trump put that tariff on. Joe Biden has kept that tariff. I think that Donald Trump will probably continue to put other things on and put the pressure on China to try and get them to negotiate. And it might be difficult because China will probably still say, hey, we think that we can outlast you. Like, we still think that, like, we'll get a different president and they will take the tariffs off or something like that, right? Or we can create enough economic damage that you're going to back off. But the one card that Donald Trump, I think, has in his back pocket on this is that we can just make a deal and then everybody can be happy, right? If China is just willing to make a deal and they make a deal early, then we can all avoid this pain, right? And we can get to a world that's a little bit more fair and avoid a whole lot of pain, right? Like, if everybody just, you know, plays by the rules, then you have more economic success in the long run. It's the people trying to, you know, that do their protectionism and try to undermine, you know, they undermine the whole system by doing that and can kind of screw everything up. In the EU, they can buy a Chinese electric car from Best Buy for $6,000. If that gets in the States, it will yeah, it will. It would, if Chinese vehicles were available for purchase in the United States, without the tariff, I think that the US car industry would be in a real world of hurt. Oh man, so I saw somebody explain this the other day, and I thought it was so very insightful. In the car industry, with traditional combustion engines, efficiency improvements and changes are all, like, very small and incremental and take a lot of work to get. And so, you know, luxury vehicles have kind of always had this latitude to say, this is what luxury is. This is the thing that matters right now in our engines. And it could be whatever they were picking, and people would just go along with it. They're the luxury vehicles. But a Electric vehicle is very different. An electric vehicle, is much more straightforward, the way that it works and everything, and the kind of power and improvements that you get out of it. And so what's happening is these Chinese vehicle makers can make a car that's just as nice, if not nicer, than the luxury car makers. And everybody's like, well, but then what am I paying BMW for? Oh, I was paying them for the name luxury, and they were just telling me what luxury is. So yeah, I think that if the Chinese vehicles were in the US, it would be a real problem for sure. I don't know how you would say it's a national security concern. Whatever. Taught this guy yesterday. He has an algo, I believe, based off the book Under the Microscope. Well, okay. I'll bite because it's you, live action. Dude, this is like the marketing. The marketing is like perfectly targeted towards me. Look, they use my word, empirical. Is this a scam specifically created for me? Is that what you did here? Like, that's what you did here, isn't it? Like, you created this website. You're like, let's try and get this thing. We can get Seth to, maybe give us information or pay us or something like that. That's what this must be. Okay. Read our mission statement. Okay, well, what I'm seeing so far is just a footprint chart, but okay. It also looks like they've got a whole like it's the whole platform, isn't it? L2A Zimuth? Lasmuth, maybe? Forecast. $2,500 or $779 quarterly. Okay, it's in Ninja Trader 8. That's curious. It's bullshit. I can immediately see it's bullshit. Wait, okay. Oh, I was looking, I wanted product, enable strategy. Okay, so it is a strategy. Strategy performance. So first of all, Sharp ratio is 0.75. So 0.75 is good. But you know what the real problem is? That's only 3 months of data. 1,000 trades, 3 months of data, 72%. That's extremely likely. Extremely likely to be curve fitted. They're not showing all of the stats, so I can't see the MFE, MAE. And I also can't see the properties of it. So I can't see, like, is he actually doing it on time bars? What kind of time bars? What instrument was this being traded on, right? It looks like bullshit to me, though. Those, I wouldn't trust that in the least bit. I wouldn't trust that in the least bit. If he's doing it on range bars, I would doubt the results even more. So you either think about it like this, okay? I've always had a hard time just explaining this to people. I don't think that people understand what I'm saying. I'm gonna take another approach to explaining this, okay? Here's our trading day. Okay. Now, with an algorithm, there are essentially points at which you can take a trade, right? So if I use 30-minute bars, then those points at which I can take a trade are evenly distributed across the day. Every 30 minutes, it checks, sees if it can take a trade, right? If it's 5 minute or 1 minutes, then it's just more granular, right? If you use range bars, you only get an opportunity to take a trade when something moves. So what you're going to get is like, there's an opportunity here, but then there's lots of opportunities here, and then there's an opportunity here, and lots of opportunities here, etc. And so by its very nature, the bar type biases the algorithm towards taking trades in a certain type of action. And that type of action happens to be the type of action where your backtester is the most likely to be unrealistic. Get a fill when you wouldn't actually get the fill. On top of that, it kind of, you know, it's these are going to be range bars. So they're going to be like this, and then this one, and then it's going to be down, and then down, right? And so like you kind of get this line like this, right? And I can optimize my strategy to you know, basically, you know, like, you know what a Fourier series analysis is? A Fourier series analysis is if I have this curve like this, I can use Fourier equations to slowly zero in and create an equation that will match that set of curves perfectly. Okay. And so basically what you can do is you can come in with your backtester, right? And if it's over a small enough data set, you can just change the parameters until it matches that thing up. And then that's what we call overfitted, right? A lot of big buyers coming in now. It did, you know, when I remember I was saying earlier, maybe I want to take it short, but they never got to the 05. But I guess they could have done it for Vortex. It doesn't seem like a big thing. Oh, for your on the market depth, yeah, you potentially, yeah, you can. but basically what I'm saying is you can overfit. And because those range bars are cleaner, the very thing that you like about the range bars, which is that they kind of look cleaner than the 1 minute chart where it's like all of this sort of stuff, right? Makes it easier to overfit on these. Okay. So any algorithm that you see in NinjaTrader that is backtested against range bars is probably bullshit. Like that's the number one red flag that what they're selling you is junk. Is that they're doing it on range bars. That they're either intentionally misleading you or they're naive. Is that it's using range bars. I know this because I made that mistake early on when we started this stream and I had all these algorithms that were based on the range bars. And then what happened? I went and I started going through the process and I said, okay, let's trade it on a live sim account, which is to say it's a sim account, but it's using the live data instead of a backtest. And what do you know? The trades never came out the same as the backtest. It was like the exact opposite. All of a sudden, something that seemed like it worked every time was terrible. And why was that? Because the bars make it trade in a situation where it's unlikely to get filled and they're easy to overfit on. And then, on top of that, again, Oh, I already closed it. Did I already close it? Yeah, I already closed it. Oh, no, I didn't close it. Here it is. And then the other big thing is that this guy is only using 3 months of data. It's only 3 months of data. Extremely suspicious. Is Connor the guy that made this? Now, there's another side to this, which is how is he backtesting it on the level 2 data? Because we have stuff that kind of does that. I'm working on it. Maybe I can work on that today, in fact. Connor is Futures Analytica. He was BSing YouTube videos. He was showing off market replay and had an image overlaid over the chart trader to make it look like live in real time. Well, that's a really, really big, yeah. Backtesting L2 is a lot, yeah. I've literally been collecting data every day for years to be able to do that. Saved me a lot of time. Oh, okay, this is good. Because I was just about to drive, because when you were saying where was it? Or Rude Orchestra was saying all the trades are based on L2 data and not the actual range bars actually. And when he said that, it really made me think that like, oh, he's trying to defend him. And I was like, am I going to have to go into now, why do you believe this? But okay, it's better than most marketing that we've seen out there, right? Like, he does have a back test. It's not a big enough one, but he does have a back test. He talks about being empirical. Okay, he says that it's based on research from Quantist and Statistica Q. Let's see what he's actually trying to base it on. Counterproof scanner. Two-tick micro probability. That sounds like reasonable. But you know what? I have another problem with what I'm seeing here. And that is that the kind of edge that this is claiming to take advantage of is something that you would really not want any competition for. So let's just give him the benefit of the doubt and say that the system does actually work really well. He's ruining it. By creating a thing and giving it to everybody, you're ruining it. Like give people the tools to be able to figure something else out and kind of, do something, but don't just give them a strategy, because that's just going to make the strategy stop working. There'll be too much competition for it. I feel like that the name Futures Analytica, I've heard that before. I really hate to be like, talk about people specifically, but I mean, you asked me, it came out, and this is a good example of why you should be suspicious about this system. There are some things about it that suggests to me that this person is being genuine, that they're not trying to, like, quote unquote scam you, but rather that they're just naive. But what you gonna do? Let's read. Okay, I think I've read this before. Oh. It's written by him. I've seen this one before too. Is you write a study to make it seem like that it's legit and it's based on science when really you wrote it. Connor is him. Who's these other people? Too common of a name. Trying to find the people and not finding them. Ugly action off of the Bank of Canada release. I didn't even realize. I am noticing that my news clock is talking about it though. You base your product on a paper that you wrote. Yeah, it was kind of like a little bit sus. Okay, but let's read the art abstract anyways. This paper presents an integrated framework for detecting and exploiting market manipulation, specifically focusing on spoofing and liquidity imbalances. We begin by defining key spoofing detection metrics. Oh wait, this sounds familiar. Hold on a second. Where was this? Somebody threw me a paper the other day. Where is my cue? Oh, it was the Mateo paper, was it? No, not that one. Oh, here it is right here. Oh, it is. So somebody had passed me this as a paper, and I was like, oh, I'll add it and download it later. Yeah. What's the new premium Discord about? Yeah, so Mackie, so kind of the way that it started was, oh, hey, Seth, you should just, start a paid Discord because I'm between jobs right now. And that would be a good way to get some money because we have so many people in the Futures Discord. And I was kind of like, I don't know that, like, if that makes sense, I'd have to make more content for it, all of these sorts of things. But then they made a great argument that was, well, it would be nice to have a private Discord that was smaller and paid only so at the very least you don't get spammed by the robots. And I said, actually, you know what? That sounds great. So what we did is we made a $3 Discord, which is the lowest. I really wish I could make it $1. I really wish that Discord would let me make it $1. But it's the $3 Discord. And the main advantage of it is that you don't get messaged by all of these marketers because there's only so much I can do to deal with the spam. Like I can delete the spam in the channels. I have a really, really great system that pretty much catches all of the spam, deletes it, and bans the people so that they have absolutely no impact on the Discord. But they can still like message people. They can still message people, and I can't do anything about that. That's something that Discord has to deal with, right? So the paid Discord is kind of a way around that. And you know what? It's been working really, really well. If you were kind of, oh, let's let that go along and see how it goes. I think you'll find that it's really great. So we've had Alligator is posting a lot over in there. We've had a couple of other guys in the interest rates discussion, and we've had some good discussion over in the interest rates. I would say that the new $3 Discord is, especially the interest rates channel, is about as active as the interest rates channel over, the public one. So if you are looking for, a place to chat and discuss with other traders what you're seeing in the market, and you're kind of a little bit sick of the way that public discords work, try the $3 Discord. I also have been posting some stuff. So for instance, my Bitcoin model that I post on Patreon, I've been posting the pictures in Discord. And as time goes on, I'll probably release more like kind of more expanded analysis reports and so forth. And that will be there as well. And all for the low, no expense price of $3. So you check that out. I got a few detailed questions. Well, yeah, go ahead. I mean, those I like to get questions about the indicators just through email, but you can totally message me on Discord, or you can ask me here, or whatever the deal is. Because part of the advantage that I can provide you, in addition to the indicators being very cheap, only $100, when these guys are offering something for like $2,500 or whatever, is that you can I'm very easy to get a hold of, especially right now. So I can answer any questions that you want. If there's features that you want added, or you have ideas, I can totally look at those and make them. Super flexible. That's a huge advantage for you. For it, I kind of feel bad because one of the things that's funny is that I suspect that some people from my last job didn't like me because of the stream. And it's just ironic because I put so much work into that job and didn't do as much during the day for our community. I'm always here in the morning, but I was not doing as much watching very much during the day because I was working so hard. So I kind of regret going to work for them. Maricopa County is saying 10 to 13 days to get election results. That's kind of ridiculous, right? Okay, do you have any indicator to detect mean reversion with a math formula? So there's a lot of ways to detect mean reversion, and it's not even so much like, I don't think that detect is the right word. I think predict is the word that you're looking for, right? To predict. But what I have found is that number one, on short time frames, mean reversion is extremely likely just all over the place. It's almost like it's so common. Mean reversion is so common that it's almost doesn't help to try and predict it. You just assume that it's going to happen everywhere. But on higher time frames, then you can kind of do things that are like mean reversion. Okay. And one of the things, if you're interested in doing a mean reversion strategy on a higher time frame, if I come over here to the chart on my daily chart, that is why I have this indicator called ATR trailing stop. So what this does is this looks at the average true range of that instrument, and then it looks for a pullback from the highs of 3.5 times the average true range. Okay. And when you cross that line, there's a strong propensity for there to be a little bit of mean reversion. Okay. So you can kind of see it happening right in this area where it's like, see how they busted through that line and then almost immediately came out, busted through that line, immediately came up, a few days later, pulls back. And then we actually started to get a real trend. Right? So that's the way that I would look for mean reversion on a higher time frame. That's one way. And I bet there's probably other ways that might be effective. Okay, I'm working on the crack spread. Ooh. And I've built the raw signals, but your tools have the Kalman filter and some spread tools. So I wonder if anything you have applies to the crack spread. Yeah, well, so the Kalman filter is an interesting one, to be honest with you, because that was one that, like, somebody mentioned it one time. Well, oh, like, Kalman filter works. And I was like, probably not. So I made a back test that was basically, you know, if you just trade whether the Kalman filter, whether we're above or below the Kalman filter, or whether the Kalman filter is pointing up or down, and does that work, and it didn't work. But I had to read so much about the Kalman filter. I looked at it at that, and I was like, well, this will actually be useful, even if it's not useful like the pure indicator. So what you actually would do with the Kalman filter is run it on another indicator. So like you come in like this, and let's just say, for the sake of argument, what would we want to do? Maybe this rock volatility, but I won't actually put it on the chart. I don't want to mess this chart up, but I'll just show you what you would do. So you'd come in here to speculator Seth, find Kalman, right? And then in here where it says input series, we edit that input series, and then we can put it on some other indicator. Like maybe you have something that you think is pretty effective, but like it's a little bit noisy, and you know, the Kalman filter can kind of help with that. Okay. So that's how I would try and use that. I personally haven't like used it on something. I kind of like made it as like, I think I'm going to come back to this, and I haven't come back to it yet. Then for the crack spread itself, you would definitely, well, so now actually I'm not sure what to, because we should be able to graph the crack spread, but I don't think that I have, because isn't the crack spread the difference between the crude oil and the gas, or the heating oil? But I don't know what instrument the other side of it is. Let's see here. This CME group has the thing about it. Oh, there's 3, 2, 1. Well, now you're getting. Sell May RBOB gasoline futures and buy CL futures. Let's see if that shows up. RBOB. Oh, look at that. Gasoline physical futures. Does it chart? It does. So this says that it is 1, -1, RB, CL. Da, 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 da. Now let's change this to like a 30-minute chart. Okay. And let's change the data series to see more than 5 days. Very nice. Well, it looks like the RBOB has kind of been moving up, but I wonder if that's a seasonal pattern. That's something that I should probably add to my list, is an indicator to help you sort out seasonality. I need to read some papers about some methods, the best methods to see what seasonality is, and, you know, make a chart. Make another one of these things that's just like its own chart that will show you the seasonality of that instrument over the year. Looks good. Yeah. So you can use my indicator to chart the spread, and then if you want to do, like, especially if you want to do like swing strategies and things like that, right? Then you should be able to use my indicator to do a back test too. Oh yeah. I feel like there was something else to cover here that I missed or that I wanted to go back to. Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to close that. Makes me think about the yesterday. I was like, oh, I should get into this. I've been working on videos, and I've got some videos coming up. I really want to do a video trashing the funded trader programs. No answer to what what did I miss? You ask it again, Eamon. Anyways, I wanted to make one about trashing the funded trader programs. But I only got about half of that video, and I don't know where I want to go with it from there. And then I got some other ones that are pretty close, and I just need to finish them. But like, I'm 2 videos ahead. One of these videos is actually short. I think I'll release the shorter one first. You know, I need to do some more editing on those, but I pretty much got the first cut already edited. So I think that I should be getting into some of these projects. And I think that the first project is so some of my indicators will export, but not all of them. And so, and there's like a newer framework that I have that does it for me. And so I want to convert all of those over to that. And then I have one, the market order imbalance in particular, that I want to do a backtest on. About the lines you're using to predict mean reversion, what's the logic behind it? The logic behind it is if you get a pullback equal to 3.5 times the average true range, there you are likely to see mean reversion where the trend continues. Why trash funded traders? I just became funded, so now you're just scaring me. Well, so the problem with funded trader programs is that they push you towards strategies that are extremely aggressive. Like, to pass a combine, you're basically like doubling your account in a month or 2 months. That's extremely aggressive. And you can do it, but the kinds of strategies that are going to get you there are strategies that have really, really fat tails, which means that you'll like pass the combine, things seem great, but then by the end of 3 months, you'll have crashed the account out. Now, you might be up because you get payouts in the meantime and everything. But just realize that the rules are essentially set up in a way to make money from people trying to take the evaluation rather than to make money from people actually trading. Which is why so many of those firms, there's a couple, 3 or so, that don't have any kind of live trading. And then most of the other ones, but about a third of them, they do have live trading, but it's to the firm's discretion, and they're only going to put it on there after you're like really cleaning them out. So basically, it costs them more to set the account up than it is to just pay you out of their earnings. That kind of tells you something. So if you were funded, that's great. One thing that I might do if I was funded is I would trade less aggressively than I did when I was taking the trader evaluation. But just realize that the chances are that, you'll run into a rough spot and you'll blow the account at some point. And after that happens, your propensity is going to be, oh, I can just, that was just a fluke. I start over again and I'll be fine, right? And so traders will constantly go in this cycle. They'll pass a combine, make it for a few months, blow the account, not go anywhere for a few months, and constantly going through that cycle. When what you could be doing is you could be learning strategies that are less aggressive and more consistent. Like swing trading strategies, for instance, which you cannot do on funded trader programs. That was genuinely interesting to listen. Wow. Thank you so much, because I feel like I'm saying this all the time and nobody listens. I traded micros and it took me 31 days. People were making fun of me because I took it so slow. Yeah, well, yeah, because that's the thing, is that most of them are trading like super, extremely leveraged. They're trading extremely leveraged. Like, honestly, what most of them are doing is they've got some sort of quote unquote price action setup that they're looking for, and their target is just a lot closer than their stop, right? And if the pattern that they're looking for is good at detecting when the market is not trending, then you get away with it most of the time. But then that one time when, it stops trending, there's a piece of where a trend does develop in there randomly, or like a piece of news stops you out or whatever, then that's when they blow the account, right? A hedge fund manager told me it takes 6 years on average to be a good trader. I could buy that. But then the question is, what kind of a strategy is the hedge fund manager talking about, right? Is he talking about a momentum strategy? Probably, right? If it was a hedge fund manager that was trading more macroeconomic based strategies, then 6 years would really make a lot of sense to me, because I don't see how you collect enough information about the market and what matters and how things tend to go, etc., in less than 5 years, right? Because basically you're talking about patterns that happen on a yearly basis, right? After 5 years, maybe you have some idea of the pattern. But one of the things that I think is so crazy is that the people that I see on Reddit, at least, claiming to be profitable traders, I've almost always been trading for 2 years or less. Okay? So, like, the guys that started during COVID, because remember, it was insane the amount of people that came into the futures trading space after COVID, right? The majority of those guys have already washed out. Like 80% of those people have already washed out. Isn't that wild? Because you would think that there should be a decent cohort of people that have been trading since 2020 and have been profitable since that time and have 4 years, or coming on 5 years. Because my standard is always, can you be profitable for 5 years? That's the bar. If you've been profitable for 5 years, then I'd be interested in what your strategy is, right? But before that, you're probably just lucky. And I haven't seen it. I haven't seen anybody claiming that and providing evidence of that. And you got to wonder, with as many people came in during COVID, why do you not see that? BlackRock do swing, so there is no logical fallacies. Well, no, BlackRock is primarily an index fund. Don't trust hedge fund workers. They are manipulators. Well, it was like, so I think you kind of missed this one, but yesterday, live action, we went through a thread on Reddit in Change My View, r/Change My View, that was written by a guy at a commodities trading house. And I think by and large he was correct, but the thing that I thought was interesting about it was you could kind of see where his approach and thinking and everything is completely different. Like the way that the institutional traders trade is completely different from how you have to trade as a retail trader, because you have different advantages. And the advantages that the institutional traders have are things that we don't ever stand a chance of having. So we have to find different edges. Most of the guys I know who got in went live right away, got wrecked, and won't touch it now. There probably is a lot of people that, they don't make it past their first major failure. That might be the case. Okay, I've got a question about measuring dealers' inventory. With your tools, is it possible to measure if the dealer went long or short on a price swing? Unfortunately, no. But that's a good question. So we have this indicator that is kind of gives you a model for what the average price of a market maker going long might be and what the average price of a market maker going short might be. So those are like the two extremes, right? So what and the indicator, you can there are extra data series if you go into the settings. Here, I'll show you here really quick. Let me come over to this chart because I have it on this chart. And I go to indicators, and here's the inventory cost basis. And there is an inventory long and an inventory short. One of the issues, and this is kind of a NinjaTrader issue, is that I can't have something that both draws on the main chart and draws a subseries. So you would have to add a second instance of the inventory cost basis and, turn all of these ones to transparent and change the inventory long and inventory short to the color that you want to make it show that, okay? But those are the extremes. Those are the extremes. So that means that the market makers, or let's say the combination of the market makers out there, their inventory is actually somewhere in between those two extremes. And which one really is it? Are they actually long or short? We do not have enough information to conclusively calculate that. If we were able to see with each order, if we were also able to look at open interest, then we could see when orders come through, is open interest increasing or decreasing, and therefore are people adding positions or taking positions off. And that perhaps could give us the information that we would need to sort out what the market maker's inventory really actually is. 30-year buying like crazy. I think LaGuard is speaking right now. That is kind of interesting. The 30-year moved up so much faster than the other ones, huh? also flattening. Let's keep an eye on it. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. We do have, I have seen some research that, oh my gosh, where is this? We did not talk about this. We did not talk about this on the stream, but I posted it in, how come I have Discord over here? Oh, that's right, because we were talking about the paid Discord. But I put it in the Discord, research papers, didn't I? Yeah, this one right here. It was on SSRN instead of... It was on SSRN instead of archive, which the best ones are in archive. Oh, I have to sign in here. Hold on. Dun, 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 dun. Open PDF. Okay. So this is a brand new study from September 2024. Okay. Real people. Look at this. In this one, you got all of these names and like where they're from and so forth. So yeah, they all have footnotes next to their names to say their credentials. Okay, University of Oxford. Okay, these are serious researchers. Okay, this one is actually totally crazy. Okay, we build statistical models to describe how market participants choose the direction, price, and volume of orders. Our data set, which spans 16 weeks from 4 shares traded in Euronext Amsterdam, contains all messages sent to the exchange and includes algorithm identification and member identification. We obtain reliable out-of-sample predictions and report the top features that predict direction, price, and volume of orders sent to the exchange. The coefficients from the fitted models are used to cluster trading behavior, and we find that algorithms registered as liquidity providers exhibit the widest range of trading behavior among dealing capacities. In particular, the most liquid share in our study, we identify 3 types of behavior that we call 1, directional trading, 2, opportunistic trading, and 3, market making. And we find that around 1/3 of liquidity providers behave as market makers. Okay, so why is this study such a big deal to me? Oh yeah, let me see. I think it's too big for me to link you that. I have to link you this page. That's the study, okay? They had every order sent to the exchange in Amsterdam, and then they used that to study how the market makers behave, essentially. Isn't that nuts? Like probably the closest study that I've ever seen to this was the study where they had every transaction on Mount Gox before Mount Gox went down, and they used that to determine, that Bitcoin followed the square root law, right? It's a similar data set, but this data set, it identifies all of the people, the algorithm, like everything, so that they can kind of look at individual players and say, how do these people behave? How many are there people like this? How many are there people like this? And for those people, how do they decide to do things? Okay. Now diving back in here, okay. We study the link between the level of activity of the algorithms and the stability of their regression coefficients. We use the logistic regression coefficients of the 53 original features described in section 3.1 and assign each algorithm according to the clustering obtained on the coefficients of the logistic regressions on the PCA transformed features. So basically they go in and they say, okay, this algorithm or this particular person seems to be utilizing this based on our cluster analysis. Okay. The first column of table 10 lists the most important features to predict the direction D of an order. Isn't that interesting that they're not saying predict the direction of the stock over the next 5 minutes or something? There's to predict the direction D of the order. So they are trying to predict orders. That's the first thing I would note there. Okay. And they're saying, what are the things that are the most important to the market makers in determining that? Let's see here. The second and third columns report the temporal deviation, which for a given feature is defined as the standard deviation of the regression coefficients over time. We report the average temporal deviation for the top 10 algorithms and for the bottom 10 algorithms, the third column. Okay. And what are the two things that it says matters the most to those algorithms? Imbalance of the top 5 levels. So basically they look at the DOM and they say the first 5 and the first 5 here and which one is bigger. And number 2 is how much inventory the algo has. So essentially the algorithm tries to minimize how much inventory it has on. If there is a move down and it is long, it really doesn't like that, and it turns around and it just immediately dumps it. Look at the offer in ZN. I did notice that. Yeah, this is big orders right there. Okay. So this study does suggest that market makers basically, if they took on a lot of long inventory, they basically kind of leave their offers weak so that it's easier for it to come up so that they can then, close that inventory out, essentially. And or if they really ate it and they've got a trend against them, they turn around and they dump it immediately. That's how they work. So if we could see how much inventory the market makers had on, we probably could predict mean reversion, pullback trades, essentially, right? Super interesting, right? So like most studies, like what it tells you is super limited, but still very powerful. Okay, so they said 10, chart 10, or table 10, table 10. There you go. Inventory of member. Oh, that's interesting. They have it split out even further. We present permutation feature importance using logistic regressions. Price buy, price sell, volume buy, volume sell. Do you notice that that price, the only thing that matters is the spread? And with volume, it is inventory primarily. And things like what the best bid volume or the best ask volume is don't really matter that much. Is that SSRN website actually free? Yes, I sign. You just sign up for an account. You don't have to do a paid account, and you'll be able to read that study. Anyways, I think that there was another chart here because I was looking for chart 10. So I wanted to see that stuff about temporal. Yeah. Oh, there's a link. There we go. It says a second and third, but there is no second and third columns. Well, whatever. Interestingly enough, the algorithms that do the worst really just considered the inventory of the algo. Isn't that curious? Anyways, so yeah. Tells us couple of interesting things to glean from this market. Let's see. I don't know if I read the conclusions. Conclusions. We built models to predict how individual agents choose the direction, price, and volume of orders they send to Euronext Amsterdam. Oh, okay. That's when they say the direction, the price, and volume. That means what? So whether they do a buy or a sell, what price they use, and how much. Okay. So for most of these guys, the price doesn't matter because they're just choosing the best bid, best offer. But they would have to, if they were doing a regression, if they had a regression based on a correlated asset, then they would probably see that strong correlation with price that you'd expect to see, right? Okay, anyways. We drew insights from the models that we fitted to the data and showed that the value of using member and algorithm identifications, the trading behavior of various dealing capacities, and the feature importance in the prediction tasks. We discussed how regulators can use the results of our models. We detailed the next steps to build an agent-based market simulator that can test counterfactuals which may be used in cases of market manipulation. Future work will address the limitations we discussed. In particular, we envisage a construction of models that incorporate a large variety of features that capture events happening across markets and instruments. Lastly, future work will explore other potential implications of the results we obtain. For example, the consequences for market liquidity of a hypothetical update of members' algorithms according to how the remaining algorithms choose their direction, price, and volumes. Anyways, this is like, I feel like this is like a super important piece of research. Like what you can use off of it is maybe somewhat limited, but like the potential for other research studies to build off of this is huge, right? If other people can get that data, it'd be nice if it said where they got it from. Oh well. Super cool, right? Okay, while I was doing that whole thing, I think I missed a couple of questions. Your DOM session is set to CME indices? Yes. When the session begins, the range on the DOM resets and the volume resets. Yes, it's not the extended session. How do you manage your trading capital? Basically, come in and like think about what's the most degenerate thing I can possibly do and do that. And that's probably the most likely thing to lead you to make some money as a retail trader. And then once you've gotten lucky, stop and go to something more serious. Okay, I think I answered all the questions. Got 30 minutes left. But yeah, I do have that indicator that kind of does average levels, and I gotta tell you, man, you see that right there? Whoop. Oops, let's do it with see that right there? Right there? It's really effective, okay? I don't know. I don't know why my back tests aren't able to show its effectiveness, but like the amount of times that it will come to those lines and bounce is uncanny. Uncanny. And today it's particularly effective, isn't it? Because it got him on both sides. Wild. Anyways, that's part of my indicator package you can get at speculatorsstuff.com. $100 for a lifetime license. Totally worth it. And it includes a lot of other tools. Morgan, hey, where you been? Good to see you. Okay. Should have some time this afternoon. So I think I will time box it. I will do a little bit of work on the indicators, and then hey, actually, you know what? No, I just had a thought. I do have it. Oh. Okay. So really all I have to do for this one is to see if I can get an algorithm to work with it. You just been in and out? I understand. I guess I could just start. Have you tested Bookmap? I think I tried it once. I'm pretty familiar with the platform because, you know, it's pretty big in the in the order flow space. I'm not a fan of the Bookmap or Vista charts. I really think that you want to look at the DOM. I think that those charts kind of focus your attention on the wrong things. And that's kind of the thing that attracts people to Bookmap. That's not to say that Bookmap is a bad platform. Bookmap has everything that you need, and it's a pretty good platform. You know, I think that the Jigsaw DOM is better than the Bookmap DOM, but the Bookmap DOM will get it done. You know, if Bookmap wanted to work with me, I would be like, hell yeah, let's do it. But, you know, they seem like a solid platform. Amir thinks it's the best vertical platform. There are some things that there are some things in Bookmap that I would really like to explore, because it has that whole thing where supposedly they can detect stop orders. That seems like a big deal. I don't know why there hasn't been more research on that. using ninjatrader.ninjascript.indicators.speculatorSif. And let's inherit from advanced base strategy, and which is mine, and no. I hate it when it does this. Varfoo equals SPS market order imbalance. Balance is less than 0.4. Go long. Long, short, see if that compiles. Oh, that's weird. My phone buzzed at exactly the same time when it said that it compiled there. Cool tunes. I always find it amusing when people like the music because it's all I did was pick up Stream Beats by Harris Heller. 100 Thieves hype tracks list. So like I feel like you're complimenting me on my music choice, but it's like the easy choice. Like what streamer doesn't use Stream Beats? That's weird. If it was my music choice, I would like, just play Anjuna Beats stuff all day or something. They actually did a thing where they're like, you can play our music, but it only worked on Twitch. If they had a thing where like I could play any Anjuna stuff on my live stream on YouTube and it wouldn't get flagged, then I would play that. anyways, I'd like make my own playlist of Anjuna Beats stuff and do that. I'm a DJ. I got pretty good playlists. And yeah, sure. I'd have like a couple of them. I'd have like one that would be deep, one that's kind of more chill out, and one that's kind of more high energy stuff. One that's broken beats. They probably have enough Anjuna stuff. I could make a broken beats Anjuna Beats playlist. If this works, I'm gonna be really shocked if I come in here and I set this all up and it runs. Set the period to be 45 minutes and run it on ZN. 1 minute bars. Let's just do this month for starters so that it doesn't take too long. These ones don't matter. Trade size should 1 log verbose. If this actually gives me entries, I'll be shocked. Shocked. Yep. Okay. I'm not shocked. Let's close these windows. Okay. And output. Oh, well, that was a dumb. Okay. Skip the first bar. Better. Took longer. Okay, see, this is the issue that I think I had before. So I need to fix it. I know I found a way to fix it and then I didn't do it, and I just got to go through it. It's like, for some reason, the caching bit does not work correctly when it's a back test. So it basically gets there and it says, "Oh, you don't have anything." For science, do you trade better with different music types? Oh, I don't know. Maybe. For the longest time, we avoided putting the music on the stream because we're afraid, like, oh, some people wouldn't like the back. They want to have their own background music and that sort of a thing. But it really didn't change anything. And it seems like people, by and large, enjoy it. So for the science, if you have a stream, you're better off with music than without. Although it's not like a game changer or anything. I'm gonna have to pull out NinjaTrader. I'm gonna have to pull out Visual Studio and do the back testing and come out, and then I bet you that it's gonna come to this line right here, and it's gonna say imbalance of 0 is nothing. There's nothing in there. It's gonna be something like that. And then you have to go and change something about the indicator so that it actually gets it. And I don't remember how or what or for that. It's going to be hard to track down, but I figured it out once. I can figure it out again. Has something to do with like multi-threading and all that. Do you know of a site that shows correlation of symbols in relation to each other on a daily basis? I've definitely seen that before, but I don't have one saved or anything like that. So the best I could do is search. You know, I feel like that for our purposes that it's kind of better to just go through the instruments and explain the macro dynamic relationships between different different instruments rather than trying to show what the correlations are right now, because correlation will change and you might not know why, right? And 1 sets for DOM every day. That is something that I could make in NinjaTrader. NinjaTrader. Oh, actually, doesn't NinjaTrader have one now? Yeah. There we go. They have this FX correlation thing. And I could I can add it and say yes, I think maybe. Oh, it will only let me do currencies. That's lame. Oh my gosh, I was just scrolling through here and they were talking about McDonald's, and I'm just realizing that like the most popular Halloween costume is probably going to be Donald Trump in a McDonald's uniform. All you got to do is get a McDonald's apron and like a wig. And the first time that you see it on Halloween, you'll be like, oh, that's so clever. But by the end of the night, you'll be like, everybody thought that one. Oh, hey, Greg, how are you doing? Your degenerate gambler comment made me laugh. I should have done some degenerate gambling today, huh? I don't know. I guess it hasn't been as active as it was yesterday. But yesterday I was trying to degenerately gamble, and it just kind of ended up frustrating myself, you know? Boy. Well, it's time for me to get going. Got some meetings and so forth to prepare myself for today. Thanks for stopping by and saying hi, by the way, Greg. You've always been around and I always remember you. Doesn't look like the treasure really did anything too interesting other than just kind of coming back across the range, but it's been relatively quiet. There was a decent amount of selling in the 10-year, but a decent amount of selling in the 5-year and the 30-year as well. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on here. It's kind of doing some interesting things. But again, I do strongly suspect that there are like trades on for the election and that these guys are kind of like tending to these trades. So guys, I will see you tomorrow. Stay excellent, team.